My daughter sold my house without telling me. When 70-year-old Margaret returns from caring for her ailing sister, she finds her family home, the one her late husband built with his own hands, sold by her only daughter without her consent. What begins as heartbreak soon turns into a journey of painful truth, buried secrets, and an unexpected lesson in forgiveness. This story explores trust, control, and the pain of being replaced. I still remember the first day I saw that little piece of land by the oak trees. It wasn't much, just a patch of green tucked behind a country road, with wildflowers bending in the wind and a stream that sang its own lonely song. But my late husband, Frank, looked at it like it was the start of forever. He squeezed my hand and said, "Martha, this will be our place, the home I'll build for you." He was never a man of many words, but when he spoke, you believed him, and he meant it. Every nail, every plank, every coat of paint on that house carried a piece of him. His calloused hands, his quiet patience, and that deep, steady kind of love that doesn't need grand gestures to prove itself. I was just 23 then, with dreams too big for our small town life. I wanted to travel, to see cities, maybe even Paris. But Frank, he was content with the simple. And somehow, he made the simple feel like everything I could ever want. We didn't have much money. He worked double shifts at the sawmill, and I took in sewing work from the church ladies. Bit by bit, that little house began to rise. White panels, green shutters, and a porch just wide enough for 2 rocking chairs. Every Sunday after church, we'd walk down and sit there. Even before the roof was finished, we'd just sit, looking out over the field, planning where the rose bushes would go and what color the curtains might be. It wasn't just a house. It was a promise he kept, and one I never thought would break, even after he was gone. And the years rolled by, and that house became our story. We raised our boys there, Michael, the quiet thinker, and David, the one who could never sit still. They'd run barefoot through the yard, climb the old oak, and chase each other till the sun dipped low. Every sound, every scrape of laughter echoed through those walls Frank built with his hands. When Frank passed, oh, how sudden it was, I thought the walls would fall in on me. It was a heart attack, out by the tool shed. I still remember the scent of sawdust in the air when I found him. He was gone before I could even say goodbye. For weeks after the funeral, I'd sit on that porch and wait. Not for him to walk up the path. No, I knew better. But for something. Maybe a sign, a feeling, anything that said he was still there somehow. And I swear, every evening when the wind rustled through the trees, I could almost hear him. That low hum he used to make when he worked, like a man whistling softly to keep the silence away. The boys grew up fast after that. Michael took over Frank's old tools, helping with repairs around town. He had that same patience in him, the quiet kind, the kind that keeps a home standing. David, on the other hand, had fire in his feet. He moved to the city the first chance he got, chasing something bigger than this small town could ever hold. I never blamed him. You can't chain the young to your memories. Still, every time I set the table for Sunday dinner and his chair stayed empty, a little ache would settle in my chest. Years passed. The house aged with me, creaking floors, fading paint, but strong where it mattered. Michael stayed close, fixing what broke, mowing the lawn, and checking in every other day. He was the steady one. David would call once in a while, his voice hurried, always promising, "I'll come by soon, Ma." But soon turned into months, then years, and I told myself it was fine. That's what mothers do. We forgive, even before the apology comes. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a warm spring morning, and Michael came by with that serious look he gets when something's on his mind. He sat me down on the porch, same spot where Frank once promised me forever, and said, "Ma, I've been thinking, this old place, it needs work. Roof, plumbing, the whole thing. You can't keep up with it on your own." I smiled, thinking he was just being protective. I'm fine, sweetheart. I've managed this long. But he shook his head. You shouldn't have to. Let me take care of it. I can handle the repairs, maybe even add that ramp you'll need someday. It sounded thoughtful, kind even. But then he paused. And when Michael pauses like that, you know something's coming. He said softly, Ma, I think it's time we put the house in my name. Just for legal stuff, in case something happens to you. I froze. For a moment, I didn't even understand. This was our house, the one Frank built, the one where every nail told our story. And now, he wanted to own it? He saw the look on my face and reached for my hand. It's not what you think, Ma. It's just paperwork. I want to make sure everything's safe, that no one can take it from you. No one but him, I thought. But I didn't say it. I trusted Michael. I always had. So I signed the papers he brought over that week, even though my heart felt heavy as the pen left the page. He hugged me after, told me he'd take care of everything, just like Dad would have wanted. And I believed him. Oh, how I wanted to believe him. Months went by. The house got some repairs. New paint, new windows, even the porch swing was replaced. But something changed in Michael too. He started talking about plans, maybe renting out part of the property, maybe building something new. One afternoon, I overheard him on the phone. Yeah, the land's under my name now. Shouldn't be a problem. I didn't ask. But that night, I sat on that same porch again, the stars dim behind the clouds, and whispered, Frank, what have I done? The next morning, David called, out of the blue. Said he'd gotten a new job that he might finally visit this summer. It had been nearly 6 years since I'd seen him in person. He asked about the house, said he still dreamed about that porch, the smell of Frank's workshop, the way the light hit the curtains in the morning, and I didn't know how to tell him that it wasn't really mine anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through each room, the kitchen where I baked their first birthday cakes, the hallway lined with faded photographs, the bedroom where Frank's work boots still sat beneath the dresser. Everything looked the same, but it felt different, hollow somehow. A home can look whole and still be empty, because it isn't the walls that make it home, it's the heart that lives inside them. And that heart, mine, had begun to tremble. I didn't know then what was coming, how the quiet gift Frank built with love would become the battlefield of my family's trust. But deep down, I felt it, the kind of dread only a mother knows when she senses her family slipping through her fingers. And as I stood on that porch, holding onto the wooden rail Frank carved himself, the wind whispered through the trees again. It sounded just like his voice, soft and sad. Martha, it said, hold on tight. They're not ready to let go yet. The morning after I signed the papers, the house felt different. I walked through each room, tracing my fingers along the familiar surfaces. The rough edge of the kitchen counter Frank had sanded himself, the scratch in the hardwood by the front door where Michael had once raced his toy cars. Everything looked the same, yet somehow everything had changed. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that Michael only wanted to protect me, keep me safe, make sure the house remained ours, but a seed of unease had taken root in my chest. A week later, Michael invited me to sit down at the kitchen table with him. His voice was calm, almost too calm. Mom, he said, I've been thinking about the future. I nodded slowly. I didn't want to interrupt, even though a little voice inside me screamed that maybe I should. The house, now that it's in my name, I can manage things better. I can pay the taxes, the insurance, all of it. I can even renovate a few rooms if you like. You deserve comfort in your old age. I forced a smile. That's thoughtful of you, Michael. Really. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. There's just one thing I need you to understand. I frowned, not liking the sound of it. And that is, he cleared his throat. Because it's in my name, legally. I can decide what's best for the property, but I promise, Nothing will be done without consulting you first. I nodded again, though something tightened in my stomach. It was the kind of promise that sounded like a gift but felt like a warning. Days turned into weeks. Michael began making small changes, repainting the walls, replacing old furniture, even clearing part of the backyard to plant a new garden. He told me it was to improve the house, but each alteration felt like a subtle reminder that the home I had loved, the home Frank had built, now belonged to him. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was only practical. I told myself Michael only wanted to protect me. But every morning when I walked down the steps and smelled the fresh paint or saw the new furniture, I felt a tiny pang of loss. Then came the first confrontation. I had noticed some papers left on the kitchen counter. They were signed documents, seemingly mundane, but something about them unsettled me. "Michael," I said one morning, trying to keep my voice steady, "what are these?" He looked up, startled. "Oh, those? Just some paperwork for the renovations. The city required them for permits." I picked up the papers, my hands trembling slightly. "You signed all of these without me knowing?" He frowned. "Well, yes, technically they're in my name now, but I didn't do anything that would affect you." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust him as I had always trusted my children, but the unease had grown too strong, too fast. I remembered the papers I had signed weeks ago, the ones that gave him control, and a bitter thought struck me. What if he isn't as careful as he promises? What if the house I loved is no longer mine in any meaningful sense? That evening, I sat on the porch, staring out at the garden Frank had planted. The roses he loved were in bloom, a bright, defiant red. I ran my fingers along the petals, breathing in the scent, and whispered, "Frank, what have I done?" I couldn't help it, tears fell. The house felt smaller somehow, not because of its walls, but because the safety and certainty I had felt for decades had begun to slip away. I realized, painfully, that the promise Michael had made, the one he had said would protect me, was only as strong as his honesty. And honesty, I had learned over the years, could sometimes bend under pressure. Days later, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from a lawyer I didn't recognize, claiming to have some updates regarding the property that required my signature. I called Michael immediately. "It's nothing," he said almost too quickly. "Just routine paperwork. Sign it, mail it back, don't worry about it." But my mother's intuition, honed over decades of experience, told me otherwise. Something about his tone, the way his voice shifted, just for a fraction of a second, screamed that there was more. I decided then that I would pay closer attention. I would read everything. I would ask questions. I wasn't going to let my trust, my love, be used as a shield against reality. That evening, I went through all the documents carefully. The legal language twisted around words I barely understood, but the gist was clear. Michael had the power to sell, rent, or otherwise use the house as he saw fit. He had promised to consult me, but nothing in the law required him to do so. I felt a chill run down my spine. All of Frank's work, the life we had built together, the laughter of our boys echoing through those walls, could be altered, changed, or even lost, and I would have little legal recourse. I sat down heavily at the table, my hands covering my face. I felt betrayed, even though my own signature had started this chain of events. And yet, I didn't want to confront Michael. Not yet. I wasn't ready to speak aloud the fear, the grief, and the growing anger in my heart. Over the next few days, I watched Michael more closely. His actions were careful, his words measured. He treated me gently, even lovingly. And yet, every time he referred to the house as my property, I felt my heart clench. I remembered Frank standing behind me, holding my hand as he hammered the last nail into the porch. "This house is ours," he had said. "Whatever happens, it's ours." I whispered his words to the empty room, Ours. But the sense of ours was already fading. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a rainy afternoon. The wind rattled the windows, and I had just settled into my chair with a cup of tea. Michael walked in, holding a folder. His expression was serious, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of fear. "Mom," he said slowly, "there's something I need to tell you. It's about the house." My heart skipped a beat. I set down my tea. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "The renovations, the permits. Some things were more complicated than I expected, and I've been thinking about selling part of the property." I blinked, trying to comprehend his words. "Selling part?" "Yes," he said softly. "There's a developer interested. They want to build a small subdivision. I can't refuse, Mom. It's a lot of money, and it could solve many problems for us." I felt the world tilt. The house Frank built, the memories, the very life we had lived there, could be divided, altered, sold. I looked at him, trying to see the boy who had once clutched my hand as we walked through that field, dreaming of the life we would build. The boy I raised, who had promised to honor Frank's gift, but promises, I realized, could crumble under pressure. That night, I walked the halls alone, touching every surface, remembering every laugh, every tear, every quiet moment Frank and I had shared. And I understood something profound. I had given my trust freely, and it had been taken for granted. I had believed in a paper promise, not realizing that love and loyalty cannot always be codified in ink. Tears ran down my cheeks, but beneath the grief, a spark ignited, a determination. I would not let this house, our family, our memories, slip away without a fight. Not through anger, not through confrontation, but through understanding, wisdom, and the kind of quiet strength that only comes with years of living. Because homes, I realized, are not just wood and nails. They are the stories, the laughter, and the love we pour into them. And no paper promise could ever erase that. The house may still stand, but the walls now echo with questions. Will Michael honor his promise? Or will the memory of Frank's gift be lost forever? Margaret's journey is only beginning, and the quiet ache in her heart grows stronger with each passing day. After that rainy afternoon, everything shifted. The house was still there, the walls, the floors, the garden Frank had planted with his own hands, but the feeling of home had begun to slip like water through my fingers. Michael continued to act carefully, almost too carefully. He never mentioned selling again, but I could sense a subtle distance in his eyes, a hesitance to speak too freely. Every conversation seemed measured, polite, as if he feared my reaction, my anger, or worse, my disappointment. And David, oh, David. He didn't visit that summer, or the next, or the one after that. He called occasionally, a rushed voice at the other end of the line, promising to come soon. But soon turned into years. I told myself he was busy, that life in the city demanded much, that he didn't understand the small-town rhythms we lived by. But the silence was the loudest sound of all. I spent those early years wandering the halls, touching the edges of familiar furniture, breathing in the scent of the old wooden floors, the faint aroma of lilies Frank loved. I would sit on the porch, staring at the horizon where the sun would dip behind the oak trees, thinking of the boys when they were small. Michael with his quiet, steady gaze, David with his wild, uncontainable energy. And I would whisper into the evening air, "Come back to me, children. Please, just come home." But no one came. I began keeping a journal, not a fancy one, just a spiral notebook with a frayed edge, where I could pour out thoughts I could share with no one. I wrote about Frank, about the house, about the quiet ache in my chest that never seemed to fade. March 12th. The house is quiet tonight. I can hear the wind brushing against the old shutters. I imagine Michael walking through the halls, speaking to me as he always did. But the voice is only in my head. The house is alive with memories, but empty of laughter. I wrote to David as well, though I never sent the letters. They piled up in a shoebox, each one filled with longing, each one filled with questions I was too afraid to ask. Dear David, I hope the city is kind to you. I hope you are happy. But I cannot tell you how much I miss the sound of your footsteps in the hallway. The house feels empty without you. Sometimes I would read those letters aloud, imagining his voice answering me, imagining his laugh echoing through the halls, but it was always just me, the wind, and the memories. I tried to reach out to Michael too. I would ask casually about his plans for the house, about repairs, about what he thought we should do with the garden. He would smile, nod, answer politely, but I could feel the distance growing. He was careful, precise, but there was a wall between us. I remembered Frank warning me once. Sometimes children don't know how to carry your love. They'll fumble it, twist it, or hide it, but never stop loving them. That's your strength. And so I continued loving, silently, quietly, watching the years slip past, hoping one day they would return, hoping the silence would break. Then came the day I realized how much the silence had grown. It was a Saturday morning, early. I had just brewed a pot of tea and was sitting by the kitchen window, watching the birds in the garden. Michael came in, holding a stack of bills. "Mom," he said, his voice calm, "I need to discuss some expenses for the house." I nodded, taking the papers. And then, for the first time, I noticed the weight of years in his posture. He was no longer the boy who ran through the fields barefoot, nor even the young man who had promised to protect the house. He was different, cautious, burdened, and yet respectful. We went through the bills in silence, and I realized something that made my heart ache. In all these years, the house had remained standing, but the family had not. I began to venture out more, trying to fill the silence with life. I visited neighbors, helped with church activities, and even began teaching a few sewing lessons. The laughter of younger women, the chatter of children, the smell of fresh bread from the bakery, these small things reminded me that life could still carry warmth, but always, the house waited for me. Its windows reflected the fading light of the afternoon. The creaking floors whispered old secrets, and the air smelled faintly of Frank's cologne, a scent that could never be replaced. One evening, as I walked the hallway, I stopped by the photograph of Frank and the boys by the old oak tree, Michael and David, laughing, holding each other. Oblivious to the world, I ran my fingers over the frame, and a single tear fell. "Why did you leave?" I whispered to David's empty chair, and the silence answered. Years passed in this quiet rhythm. I learned to live within the walls that were mine in memory, but not entirely in law. I learned to find solace in small joys. The sun filtering through the curtains, the smell of roses, the sound of birds returning in the spring. Yet, the silence between mother and children remained. Michael remained close physically, but the warmth I remembered from the early years had become formal, almost ceremonial. And David, he was a ghost in my heart, a promise I could not touch. I began to understand the pain Frank had once hinted at, the pain of watching life move on without the ones you love, the ache of knowing that memory and love are not always enough to keep people together. Then came the letter. It was unassuming, almost timid in its envelope. I opened it, thinking it might be from the bank or a neighbor, but inside was a note, small and neatly written, from David. "Dear Mom, I know I've been absent. I know the years have passed and the silence has grown. I am sorry. I hope you can forgive me. I hope you are well. I miss the house. I miss our laughter. I miss the way things used to be." I sat in my chair, trembling. The years of silence, of longing, of unanswered questions seemed to press down on me. And yet, in that small note, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the silence was not unbreakable. Perhaps there was still time to reclaim some measure of what we had lost. That night, I went to the porch, staring at the horizon where the sun dipped behind the oak trees, just as it had when Frank was alive. I clutched the letter in my hand, feeling the paper tremble beneath my fingers. I whispered softly into the wind, "I forgive you, David, but come home soon." And for the first time in many years, I felt a small warmth in the house, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for the laughter to return. The years of silence had been long and heavy, but maybe, just maybe, the bridge could be rebuilt. The silence is breaking, but the journey toward forgiveness and reconciliation has only just begun. Will the years of distance prove too wide, or can a mother's love and patience bridge the gap? Margaret is about to find out. The letter arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, slipping under the door like a timid visitor. I noticed it immediately. Small, neatly folded, no stamp from familiar places. My hands trembled slightly as I picked it up. It was from a man named Tom. I did not recognize the handwriting at first, but something in the folded paper felt deliberate, intentional, a message that had waited patiently for years to be delivered. I hesitated. My first instinct was to set it aside, to keep my fragile peace intact. But the name Tom stirred a memory. Lily's husband. He had been part of our lives, always polite, always cautious, but he had stayed in the shadows, never the center of any story. With a deep breath, I unfolded the letter. "Mrs. Margaret," it began, "I hope this letter finds you in peace. I write to you with a truth I have kept too long, and I believe you deserve to know. The sale of your house, it was never what your daughter made it seem. She did not act from malice, nor from a desire to hurt you. She acted to protect me, to save our family from ruin. I carry the burden of that mistake." I felt my chest tighten. Every word struck like a weight, pressing down on the fragile hope I had carried through the years of silence. The letter continued. "Your daughter believed she was helping you, helping all of us. She signed documents, arranged the sale, and bore the brunt of your anger and disappointment, all to shield me from consequences I could not face. She did not lie to you to betray you. She lied to protect someone she loved. I am sorry for the pain this has caused." I sat down heavily in my chair, my hands clutching the paper as if it were the only tether to the world that had shifted beneath me. I reread the letter multiple times, each line unraveling emotions I had buried deep. Rage, hurt, betrayal, they all surged back, but now intertwined with something else, understanding. Lily had acted from love. She had carried the weight of a secret she believed would destroy me if revealed, and I had spent years holding silence against her as though it were betrayal. I felt tears welling, and I let them fall. For decades, I had tried to control what I could in this life, to safeguard memories, to protect my heart. And yet, in my attempt to hold on, I had failed to see the truth of her intentions. The letter ended with a plea. "Please, Mrs. Margaret, understand this truth before it is too late. Your daughter loves you more than you know, though fear and pride kept her silent. I hope you can find it in your heart to see her not as one who took, but as one who carried a burden for you." And there it was, the key that unlocked the years of pain. I remembered my late husband, Frank, standing in the garden, his hands deep in the soil of our beloved rose bushes. "Our children will fumble love, Martha, but never stop loving them. That is our duty, our gift." I whispered his words aloud, letting them sink deep into my heart. I called Michael that afternoon. My voice was calm, deliberate, yet soft, the kind of voice that carries both sorrow and strength. "Michael," I said, "I received a letter today from Tom. I need to understand everything, not just what you wanted me to know, but the truth." He hesitated, then nodded. "Mom, I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you the way Dad would have wanted. I never wanted you to feel betrayed." I listened quietly, letting him speak, letting the weight of years, misunderstandings, and silence spill into the room. He explained the truth. Lily had discovered financial troubles in Tom's business. Debt so high, so tangled, that bankruptcy was imminent. The house, in her mind, was a shield, a way to keep the family afloat. She bore the anger, the disappointment, and the silence to protect everyone else. I felt my heart soften. Years of blame, of distance, of unanswered questions, all of it began to shift. Later that evening, I walked through the old halls of the house. The walls seemed to breathe with a new understanding. The scent of wood, the faint echo of children's laughter, the memory of Frank's strong hands guiding me. All of it felt alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. I realized something profound. The house had never truly been lost. Its value was not in ownership or legal papers. Its value was in the love, the memories, and the intention behind every corner, every beam, every brick. And Lily, she had acted out of that love, even if her choices had caused pain. I found myself in the garden that night, sitting where Frank once had. The roses swayed gently in the breeze. I whispered into the quiet, "I forgive you, Lily," not because it was easy, but because love is stronger than pride. For the first time in years, I felt the weight of the silence lift. Not completely, not yet, but enough to let hope in. I knew the road ahead would be long. There would still be conversations to have, wounds to heal, and apologies to speak aloud. But the truth beneath the sail had been revealed, and with it came a chance for reconciliation. The next morning, I wrote a letter to Lily. My hands shook slightly, but my heart was steady. Dear Lily, I have received the truth. I have carried years of silence, misunderstanding, and hurt, but now I understand your choices. I know you acted out of love, even when fear made it hard to show. I forgive you, and I hope we can rebuild what the years of silence tried to steal. Let us walk together, even if slowly, toward healing. I folded the letter carefully, slipping it into an envelope. I did not seal it immediately. I held it, feeling the weight of words, of years, of hope and pain intertwined. That evening, as the sun set behind the oak trees, I sat on the porch once more. The house, the garden, the memories, they all felt alive with a new warmth. The years of distance had not vanished entirely, but for the first time, I could see a path forward. I whispered to the wind, softly, to the memory of Frank, and to the daughter who had carried a burden in silence. We will find each other again. One step at a time, we will find our way home. The truth has been revealed, but healing is only beginning. Margaret now faces the delicate work of mending years of misunderstanding, rebuilding trust, and rediscovering the love that never truly left. The following spring, after months of quiet letters and slow conversations, something shifted in the air. A soft, gentle hope that had long been absent in my heart. Lily had returned to the town for the first time in years, her hands trembling as she carried a small suitcase filled with memories and apologies. Michael had been the bridge, carefully tending to both our hearts, making sure that every word spoken was measured with care. But it was Lily's presence, finally tangible and near, that began to heal the fractures of the past. One afternoon, as the sun leaned low over the horizon, I found myself sitting with her on the porch swing. The air was warm, the scent of blooming roses mingling with the freshness of the coming summer. We didn't speak much at first. Words seemed heavy, laden with years of unspoken pain. Instead, we simply sat, letting the rhythm of the swing and the soft rustle of leaves speak for us. After a while, Lily turned toward me, her eyes glistening. "Mom, I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you, protecting us. But I see now that silence has its own cost." I reached for her hand, my own trembling. "I understand now, Lily, and I forgive you. It's been hard, so hard, but love has always been here, hasn't it?" She nodded, tears slipping freely now. We held each other for a long moment, as if the years of absence could be pressed into a single embrace. Of the house that Frank built had survived storms, time, and even the uncertainties of legal papers. But I realized that love, forgiveness, and understanding were what truly kept it standing. And yet I knew we needed a new beginning, a space where memories could be created anew, free from the shadows of past misunderstandings. That's when Michael suggested the cabin by the lake. It wasn't far, just a few miles from the main town, tucked behind a line of tall pines. The cabin was modest, unassuming, but it carried a charm that reminded me of my youth. The walls were wood, polished with care, the windows open to the sparkling lake, the water reflecting the sky like a mirror. "This place," Michael said softly, "can be ours, a retreat, a place to gather, a space to heal." I walked through the cabin slowly, running my hands along the smooth wood of the walls, breathing in the earthy scent of pine and water. It felt alive, welcoming, a fresh canvas on which we could rebuild our family's story. That evening, we sat together on the small porch overlooking the lake. Michael and Lily, once divided by misunderstandings and distance, were now present, whole and real. And I, Margaret, felt a warmth I hadn't known in years. We shared stories of the past, of mistakes and missteps, of moments we wished we could change. We laughed quietly, softly, the kind of laughter that comes after tears, the kind that speaks of resilience and enduring love. Over the next few weeks, the cabin became our sanctuary. Lily helped me plant a small garden by the water, Michael repaired the old dock where we could fish, and I cooked meals for us all, savoring the simple joy of shared work and shared life. One afternoon, as I watched the sunlight dance across the lake, I realized something profound. It wasn't the house Frank built that mattered most, nor the papers, the promises, or the years of silence. It was us, our family, together, imperfect but alive. We had learned the hardest lessons about love, about trust, and about forgiveness. And now we were writing a new chapter, one filled with hope, understanding, and laughter that would echo across the water for years to come. Auntie, the cabin by the lake, became a place of reflection and renewal. Each day, I walked along the shore, feeling the cool water lap against my feet, remembering Frank and the home he built, but also embracing the life that continued to grow around me. I found peace in simple rituals, morning tea on the porch, watching the fog roll off the lake, listening to the birds as they settled into their nests. I found joy in watching Michael teach Lily's children, my grandchildren, how to skip stones, how to care for the small plants we had planted together. And in those quiet moments, I understood that love is not a possession to be held tightly or a house to be legally secured. Love is an enduring presence, sometimes tested, sometimes strained, but always capable of healing when nurtured with patience and understanding. One summer evening, as the sun dipped behind the pines, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I sat with my children, now reconciled, on the porch swing. The lake shimmered before us, the cabin standing quietly as our new home. I held Lily's hand and smiled at Michael, feeling a fullness in my chest I hadn't known in years. "Thank you," I whispered, though I wasn't sure to whom. Frank, for the life he had given us. Lily, for her courage. Michael, for his steadiness. Or simply to life itself, for bringing us back together. And in that moment, I realized that every tear, every moment of silence, every shadow of doubt had led us here, to a place of peace, love, and enduring connection. The cabin by the lake was more than a new beginning. It was a testament to the strength of family, the resilience of love, and the power of forgiveness. And as I watched the sunset, the golden light reflecting on the water, I knew, no matter what challenges the future held, our hearts would always find their way home. From the pain of silence to the truth beneath years of misunderstanding, Margaret's journey proves that love, forgiveness, and patience can heal even the deepest wounds. The cabin by the lake is not just a place, it is the home of a family reunited, stronger than ever before. If you love stories, emotions like this, then do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button, because this channel is just getting started. More stories, more insane emotions, love, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.